Welcome back, Crucible citizens. You all have been giving me such a great response to the first video. I could not be happier. Thank you so much to everyone who was liked and subscribed and interacted with the content in any way. I am excited to keep the ball rolling here with deck number 2. So without further ado, let's just dig right in. While I am opening this, by the way, if there's anything you think I should do differently or anything that you want to see more of, just let me know in the comments. I am pretty proud of what I've done so far, but I am always open to criticism. See if I can break through. Ooh, pierced right through the box there. Oopsie. Okay, let's see what we're rocking with. There it is, the deck list again. I've got to figure out which side to open. First house is Dis, looking awesome. Sanctum, Mars, ooh, very interesting, very interesting. Ultron of the River, Warden's Station. Ultron of the River, Warden's Station. It's pretty cool. Try and get it so it's not in the glare there. It's a really interesting looking Archon. It's got like rain coming down. Its head is a very Sanctum halo. Very fancy, maybe Martian uniform. Alrighty. Well, it's looking awesome. Give me one moment. I'm going to break this open and we'll be back a little bit more zoomed in to reveal these cards. We are back. There's another look at the Archon here without the plastic sheen. Ultron of the River Warden Station. I love that name. I also love these houses. Let's get this Archon off to the side here. And we'll flip it over. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow, second deck. So this display is rolling with some interesting cards. First one had a legacy. Now we're starting off very first card with a Sanctum Furtive Investor's Maverick. That looks awesome. That's interesting. It tells a little bit of a story. Some bad actors in Sanctum. Very next card we're looking at is Take Hostages. An action, play for the remainder of the turn. Each time a friendly creature fights, it captures 1. It's pretty good. 2 of those. Smite, already a little bit of synergy going on. Action, play, ready and fight with a friendly creature. Deal 2 damage to the attacked creature's neighbors. 2 of those, doubling up. Ooh, Cermeros. After your opponent gains Amber by Reaping, Cermeros captures it. It's a Sanctum flavored kind of, ooh, what's it called? I'll show it on the screen. It's a, the Mars spider. I don't know, Ether spider, there we go. You can see it on the screen there. Cermeros is really cool too, just because, he's kind of the poster boy for Age of Ascension. He was on a bunch of the stuff, the deck boxes and everything. Then we've got Shield of Justice, action play. For the remainder of the turn, each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage. That's an interesting combo with our, for the remainder of the turn, each creature that fights captures 1. Ooh, Mark the Marked. After Mark the Marked prevents damage with its armor, capture 1 for each damage just prevented. Hoping we can get some shoulder armor or something. 2 of those. At the very least, a good target for fighting. Then we have Hollowed Shield action. It's an artifact. Choose a creature. For the remainder of the turn, chosen creature can't be dealt damage. Warden the Redeemed. Warden the Redeemed is interesting. It's elusive, action capture 2, but Warden the Redeemed actually has a quote on the Orb of Invidious. I forget exactly what they say, but it's interesting. I wonder what the connection there is. Oh, fantastic. Leon Boutram. Deploy. Leon Boutram's neighbors get +2 power. Oh, skipping cards here. Hang on. Alrighty, so that was it for Sanctum. Now we are into our Mars set, with the rare being an action, Total Recall. For each friendly ready creature, gain 1 amber, return each friendly creature to your hand. Be interesting to see what kind of combos we can get off with that. Alrighty, Red Planet Ray Gun, an upgrade. This creature gains Reap. Choose a creature, deal 1 damage to that creature for each Mars creature in play. Ideally, that ends up on a Mars creature with a Reap effect. Ooh. Visium Think Drone. Reap, you may archive a friendly creature or artifact from play. The Martian Mindworm. Interesting, a little Mars creature attacking a Sanctum guy in our Mars Sanctum deck. Maybe we've got a little infighting. 1 power, elusive. Before fight, the creature Mindworm fights deals damage equal to its power to each of its neighbors. Then we've got Mind Warper, elusive action. Choose an enemy creature. It captures 1 from its own side. Can never go wrong with that. It's kind of a delayed steal. Got 2 there. And we've got Mars Needs Amber. Each damaged enemy non-Mars creature captures 1 from their own side. Hope we're not going against Mars. We got 2 of those. A lot of duplicates. Oh, and an interesting way to get armor. Unfortunately not onto our Sanctum creatures, but each other Martian creature gets armor. That's a great way to keep them all protected. We've got a lot of really good creatures in our Mars here. Glixel Proliferator. Reap. If Glixel Proliferator is on a flank, archive a Mars card from your discard pile. Some recursion. Oh my gosh. Probably my favorite Mars creature from the early sets. Collector Worm. 2 power and 5 armor. Fight. Archive the creature Collector Worm fights. If that creature leaves your archives, put into its owner's hand. I have to hope we don't have a whole lot of really good archiving for our own cards. We can just use Collector Worm to hold them hostage. Then we've got Carpet Flotsam in action. Play. If there are no friendly creatures in play, deal 4 damage to each creature. It's a great way to get the... Oh my gosh. Okay, interesting. Didn't finish my thought. A great way to get the Mars Needs Amber off for all the damaged non-Mars creatures our enemy has if they survive this. And then going into Dis here, we're starting off with Soul Snatcher. A very two-sided kind of, or double-edged sword, I guess is a better way to put it, artifact. Each time a creature is destroyed, its owner gains 1 amber. That would be my creatures, their creatures. No one goes in, no one comes out, and yet the fires burn. Ominous. Ah, the disc creature that I said the wrong name of for the entirety of my last video. Apologies about that. This is Tentacus. Tentacus. I already spoke kind of about them in the last video, but the pay wording is really good, and we don't see any artifact removal, so, you know, if we're not going to have removal, might as well have them pay us to use it. Scullion is a fantastic, very big power creature, great target for things like Smite or capturing onto. Do have to sacrifice a friendly creature on play though, so let's hope for some destroyed effects in Dis. 2 of those, interesting. Then we've got Pain Reaction. This is a great way to also get the Mars Need Amber off. Deal 2 damage to an enemy creature. If this damage destroys a creature, deal 2 damage to each of that creature's neighbors. Ooh, and then a board wipe. Actually one of my favorite Dis board wipes. I don't know about most other people, but I feel like a lot of the time, honestly, if I'm going Dis, even if I like my creatures, it's almost worth to play Unlocked Gateway versus Gateway to Dis, which gives you the 3 chains. This just has Omega. Got a quote from Quixo the Adventurer on it. We'll just lock it again. Clearly that didn't go too well. Ooh, and then a renowned Dis creature, Tismal, 2 power elusive. Reap, choose a house. Your opponent cannot choose that house as their active house on their next turn. I know somebody in particular who's a big fan of Tismal with the Logos rocket boots. Exhume, some great recursion here. An action play, choose a creature in your discard pile. You may play that creature as if it belonged to the active house and was in your hand. Great wording, because it doesn't enter play, so it still gets the play effects. Cull the Weak, some more creature control. Destroy the least powerful enemy creature. Oh, and then some much needed Amber control from Dis with Charette, play capture 3. 2 Charettes. And then our very last card here, it looks like Binding Irons. All in all, a pretty good showing. No destroyed creatures, so there isn't a great target for Scullion or anybody we're typically going to be willing to sacrifice there with the unlocked gateway. But all in all, I think I just love the theming of these houses. Sanctum and Dis together is fun. The Mars had a lot of creatures. This feels like a pretty creature-heavy deck. I don't know if I'm just saying that from looking at it or I'm overthinking it a little bit, but it seems really interesting. I don't think it's going to be super bad. It's got a lot of stuff going on with the chains and amber control. Pretty healthy board. I don't know how much amber gain it's got. It looked like there might have been a couple of pips in there, though. So give me one moment. I will be right back with the deck breakdown. Here we are. Welcome back. I've got the deck all broken down here. Splitting into the usual piles. We've got our amber control, expected amber. There was no artifact control except for Tentacus, which is a little bit in that maybe the opponent won't want to pay the amber, so they won't use their artifact. But I feel like Tentacus serves a better job in the amber control section, in that most likely they will either just pay the amber or they will just kill Tentacus. And then lastly, we've got a bunch of stuff in the creature control. Yeah, before we get into it, right there is the SAS number. 60's not too bad, especially for Age of Ascension. It wasn't known for its extremely high SAS or crazy powerful decks. Honestly, I'm pretty excited, more so about the theme. It seems pretty fun, as well as just getting a Legacy followed by a Maverick is pretty crazy. So, all in all, I think it's a win. That anti-synergy, let's see exactly where that comes from. It looks like it is mostly from the total recall, which is right here. For each friendly ready creature, gain 1 amber, then return each creature to your hand. A lot of that is just because we have a lot of creatures that capture amber, as well as just a lot of creatures in general. So a lot of that amber will just go right back if we do end up using it, which stinks because that's a pretty big amber gain if we can get it to go off properly. Then the meta, of course, comes from board clears with that unlocked gateway. It's pretty strong. There isn't anything else super to note with that. As far as our extras and counts goes, we've got 12 amber, which is okay, I think. It's 2 keys, so it's not, fantastic, but finally we have one upgrade, 2 artifacts. So we're not stuck with just creatures and actions. We've got basically the average amount of creatures and a little bit less average for the actions there. The upgrades, upgrade being the Red Planet Ray Gun, then the artifacts being the Hollowed Shield, I think it was. Yes, Hollowed Shield and Soul Snatcher, which again, not sure exactly how to feel about Soul Snatcher. I think Soul Snatcher could be really good. Well, here, we'll talk about it in the expected amber breakdown. So, give us 1 second. Let's get those out of here. And right there is our amber and control section. Let's get into this. So, of course, I've already said, but here is Tentacus again, making our opponent pay to use the artifacts. There is a lot of specifically capture in this deck. So, and we've doubled up on a lot of it. Right here we've got Maruk the Marked, Maruk, who knows? 2 of those. It would be nice if we had a way to increase the armor on Maruk, but unfortunately there wasn't any. Ooh, I can never remember the names right when I need to. I'll put it on the screen. It's the Sanctum creature that gives +2 armor to its companion. Nope. Why can't I remember its name? Okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. He's on the screen now. He changed in Mass Mutations to give Assault. I'll show that guy as well. I miss the old one. Honestly, that 2 armor, very in theme for Sanctum, very fun. I prefer the defense versus the attacking. Then, of course, we have Cermeros here. After your opponent gains amber by reaping, Cermeros captures it. It's pretty nice. 4 power, 2 armor. It's not easy to get through. Then we've got Warden the Redeemed. with the action capture 2. 3 power elusive is okay. I think a lot of what comes from the more powerful creature control decks is stuff like Unlocked Gateway or Carpet Flotsam, stuff that's just so direct as far as like actions and not fighting. So I'm not sure he would stay around super long, especially since that capture 2 is locked behind an action. It's not a play effect. But if I can keep it going, then we'll hold it hostage on him. Then of course we have the Mars needs Amber with a way or two to proc that. Most of it's going to be through fighting, but we do have the Carpet Flotsam, we do have the Pain Reaction, so there is some damage in there that we could do. We got 2 of those, of course. This also showed up in the expected Amber, which I found was interesting. I hadn't thought about it. I know it's capturing from its own side, so it's kind of a delayed steal, but I felt like it was more potent in its... not more potent, but more dedicated to its Amber control job. I think the Amber pip that it comes with kind of boosted that expected Amber number. Then we've got the Take Hostages, of course. For the remainder of the turn, each time a friendly creature fights, it captures 1. Not bad. It seems like there's going to be a lot of fighting. There aren't a whole lot of creatures. The ones in Sanctum, if they're not capturing, they're just being big and strong. So, great ways to do that. The Smites out of house are going to help a lot with this too. You know, fighting with something like Mindworm, so we can start holding Amber onto it as well. Then our last 2 cards, I believe, yes, are going to be the Churettes. Play, capture 3. Not bad. A good Exhume target. If they get taken out of play, the ability to hold on to half a key at an instant. It'll probably be our main target for Exhume. But that is all of our Amber control there. Next, we're moving on to the expected Amber section. Not very big. A lot of the expected Amber came from the 12 kind of enhancements or pips spread throughout the deck. So we're rocking with the first being the Total Recall. Already talked a little bit about its downside, the fact that it's kind of pulling away from our capturing and such. We don't have a whole lot of play effects to go crazy with, and the main play effects are capturing from those Churettes, so. But the Amber gain from it is big. I think a lot of this is going to be in-game kind of turns, where we just try and survive the first 2 keys, and then on the 3rd key we do something big like Total Recall, and we throw all of our Amber to the opponent, but then we make a bunch of Amber off of this, and hope that they just can't stop us. Speaking of which, Furtive Investors would be a great thing to have happen right afterwards. Don't have a way to play it in a Mars turn, but if your opponent has more Amber than you, gain 1 Amber for each key your opponent has forged. Just a great way to gain Amber. I think it would make more sense if it was kind of a steal with it being shadows, but we've got Ronnie Risk Clocks for that, and Boonithing based off of the key stuff. I think maybe it could have served to get a little bit more Amber gain from it, because early game this is just, oh, if your opponent has more, then you still only gain 1. So maybe it's like a minimum of 1 additional would be nice. Then our last one in our expected Amber is Soul Snatcher. This is the other one I wanted to talk about. It's very, again, kind of one of those last ditch efforts. We get 2 keys, our opponent's only on 1, or he's about to forge their 2nd. Then we play Soul Snatcher, we play every disc creature we can, and then we play Unlocked Gateway. You know, play Binding Irons so that they don't draw into anything crazy if they get another turn, and then we just hope we got enough Amber off of it. That Maverick is so nice, though. I just want to show it again. I love the Mavericks and Legacies. I think it's such a cool, not necessarily mechanic, but kind of feature of KeyForge as a whole. No matter the Maverick, I think I get excited about it. Then again, we're skipping the artifact control. That was just with the Tentacus. So other than that, nothing really. And we're diving straight into our creature control here. First with a Mindworm. Before fight, the creature Mindworm fights, deals damage equal to its power to each of its neighbors. Fantastic for taunt creatures. A lot of the taunt creatures get a pretty high power because that's their whole job basically is to exist as huge power creatures. Not great against something like, oh man, why can't I remember the name in this moment? Shoulder Id. Shoulder Id benefits crazy off of Mindworm, to say the very least. But, you know, you get things like Lady Lorena or Cinder, those big taunts that typically will have a price, or just, that's their whole thing. Then we got Red Planet Raygun. Great to put on a creature that already has a Reap effect, and that 1 damage for each Mars creature. If it doesn't kill the creature, it's another great way to keep the Mars Needs Amber kind of rolling, so that hopefully we can get a lot of amber off of it. Alternatively, hopefully it just kills the creature, but a great secondary effect. Then there is, of course, Pain Reaction. Deal 2 damage to an enemy creature. If that damage destroys that creature, deal 2 damage to that creature's neighbors. We would hope it destroys in basically every situation, just because we want whatever creature we're hitting gone, and then, again, the damage from Mars Needs Amber. Coal the Weak is great. Destroy the least powerful enemy creature. Not great when they have something like a KeyFrog, but a lot of the time those low-powered creatures are something pretty powerful in their effect, not in their power itself. So you see a lot of like the 1-power creatures that are able to steal like crazy or do a lot. Stuff like this would be really interesting in Winds of Exchange, just because there are so many tokens. I don't think you could have a very effective card like this in Winds of Exchange, just because a lot of the time, in most of the games, of course, there are things like the Saurian token creature with 5 power, 2 armor, Bellatorn Warrior, that's not going to be hit by this most likely, but there are a lot of other token creatures that have got such little power that it's be like, oh, okay, so you've got 5 token creatures, let me pick which one I want gone, I guess. Then we have the Smites. Ready and fight with a friendly creature, deal 2 damage to the creature's neighbors. Again, that damage. Mars Needs Amber has opportunities in this deck. It is not without them. The Smites are also great targets for the Collector Worm, so we can start holding creatures hostage. Hopefully we can keep Collector Worm on the board, go into a Sanctum turn and do it twice. Kill some creatures' neighbors, archive some other creatures. It'd be interesting to use it as like a secondary purge pile. Then, of course, we have the Unlocked Gateway, predecessor to the Gateway to Dis. It's fantastic. I think that Omega is a pretty good price, especially considering Dis's theming and the fact that there are a lot of destroyed creatures. We didn't get a whole bunch this time, but I think with Soul Snatcher, there's a pretty interesting combo there, to say the very least. It's very cool art, pretty well-themed card, and I honestly prefer the Omega price to the chains. Alrighty. Clean this up here. So the very last thing that we're going to talk about is right there. It's going to be our speed and board section. The speed was taken down a notch by the Total Recall. It's a part of its whole anti-synergy deal. The fact that we're returning so many creatures to our hand and that they're probably from different houses will bulk it up pretty big. Then our recursion, of course, is Exhume and Glixel whoa, I'm never going to say that right. Proliferator, with the ability to archive some Mars creatures. Our disruption is Binding Irons and Tezmal, forcing them to not choose a house, rather, forcing them so that they cannot choose a certain house, which is really interesting, especially when you combine it with multiple uses. Then our creature protection is a mix. It's the Lion Bautrum. It's the increased power of your neighbors. And then the Ixlixi Fixfinger with the additional armor to all the Mars creatures, which I hadn't thought about it, but with Collector Worm, getting it to 2 power, 6 armor, it's kind of crazy. Our effective board power isn't super big. I feel like there's a lot going on with it. We have a lot of stuff from Sanctum. The Collector Worm, of course, has a big power in its own right, because you'll have to do at least 7 damage to break through and kill it. Then, of course, the Cermeros, all the other creatures. There's a big chunk taken off of it from the Unlocked Gateway, which makes sense. It being Omega, destroy all creatures, means that it most likely is going to hit some of ours, if not a lot of ours. So it'll be interesting to play this to see how much thinking I have to do compared to the fact that all of the Amber control is you know, capturing when it is right to play stuff like the unlocked gateway or other effects. Not Mars Needs Amber, what was the other one? Total Recall. I think that there's a balance to it that if you pilot it right, it could probably punch above its weight class a little bit. As long as you're playing for speed, kind of going through the cards in your hand pretty quickly. Maybe get to those keys and pull off one of those big 2 plays I was thinking about. But all that being said, that's my second video. Thank you for checking everything out. That was Ultratron of the River Warden Station. Pretty interesting Age of Ascension deck. I love stuff like this. Something I noticed that I haven't mentioned yet is there's at least one card in each house that shows creatures of that house attacking another creature. So we've got Cull the Weak, where the Disc creatures are attacking Sanctum. We've got the Mind Worm, where a Martian is attacking Sanctum. And then, where was it in Sanctum? Something else in the Sanctum that I can't remember at the moment. Maybe there wasn't. Oh, just the theming of the furtive investors, the Sanctum being bad actors. A lot of their text, especially with Sir Meros, talks about how the Amber was always theirs and they always deserved it. And then the Maverick furtive investors in Sanctum is just so funny. Little things like that, little themes and stuff I always find super interesting. But again, thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited to keep pumping these out. I just have so much fun with it. Even these lower SAS decks. I hope you guys aren't tired of Age of Ascension. Got a bunch more decks to come, but once I'm done with this, I'll probably get into, hopefully, my Winds of Exchange. I've got the Turner of Keys, I think it was. Whatever the highest game found was. So we'll see a spoiler for Grim Reminders. I'll probably open a display or 2 of Winds of Exchange. Honestly, what I'm hoping for most is Tangaika. That combo just seems so interesting, so fun to me. But keep your eyes and ears peeled. Don't be afraid to get into those comments. Would love to interact with you guys. And thank you so much for listening, making it this far. And as a good friend, Zach Armstrong always says, don't forget that the most important part of KeyForge is the friend, or is the friend sitting across the table. You guys have a great day.